Okay, until we start. So next week there will be no Block&Wine in person, but we'll have our first Block and Start competition that will be online, and the links will be available soon. And then 2 weeks, so on the 21st, this is the last meetup that we'll have before Christmas. We'll have an ugly sweater Christmas party, which will be very fun. We'll have some glühwein, and the person with the ugliest Christmas sweater will win some prizes. And it's not too late to order your ugly Christmas sweater online. So go ahead and do that if you want to have them ready for the Christmas party. Is the live stream ready? Yeah. Is the live stream already going? Yeah. Okay. Hello people from the live stream. I'm Sophia. I have the honor to open this Block&Wine. We'll have 3 pitches today from Max, Alexei and Alejandro, and we'll already start with the first pitch, and Max will tell us about user growth and community building in Web3. Welcome to the stage, Max from Quest 3.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me also. The guys in the back also feel free to move to the front because I'm going to show some stuff on the screen as well. Before I start off, welcome. I have 3 questions that I just want to throw into the room. So first one being, who of you guys, is there anyone there that has ever at least thought of creating their own startup or project in the Web3 world or something related to crypto and NFTs? Anybody? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Of those that have ever thought of doing so, have you ever, perhaps with the help of a marketing campaign, tried to acquire some users and then at a certain point reached a level where you came to a point and it didn't go further, or maybe you just had troubles finding Web3 native people? Yes, okay, perfect. And just because you reached your hand so quickly, question to you, Georg. What do you think, what would be an appropriate amount or budget, sufficient budget to do a marketing campaign? To reach, let's say, 100 users? Just a rough estimate.
Wouldn't throw in a number necessarily, but if you ask me directly on such a number, I would say 100 users.
Okay.
250.
Okay. That's solid guess. I think I'd agree. Maybe even a little bit lower. For some, and yeah, this thing doesn't work. Can I just? No? Okay. No?
Sorry.
Yeah, take your time, no worries. For some projects out there, and also for governmental institutions, you know, the answer might be a little bit different. And for those of you who maybe, just like me, came across the article of the EU Commission's Foreign Aid Department spending $400,000 on their own metaverse and launching a party for people that were maybe a little bit less politically active that they want to get in touch with. They got in touch with 5 people, and to be honest, after they started, a couple minutes after, 3 of them already left, right? And in the next step, I think it's okay, take your time. I'm just gonna tell you a little bit more about myself, okay? So I'm not gonna just stay here and tell you what to do with your project, how to work on it, how to scale it, if you don't even know who I am. So basically, just to give you some input, my name is Max. You might have seen it already on today's announcement banner. And yeah, I'm Austrian, I'm 19 years old, and yeah, maybe we have some details later on that as well. Anyways, a couple years ago, I went to China and I lived there, met some people, connected with some people because I was always interested in the crypto field since many, many years. Got in touch with some people working at companies like Kobo. For those of you who don't know Kobo, they were one of the providers of the first, or one of the first solid hardware wallets in the field. Also with people at Huobi, one of the major exchanges that is still around today. And with these people, they're my teammates now. So I think 1.5 years back, we started working on our first D-apps. So what is a D-app? It's basically a decentralized app that runs on blockchain. And one of our first projects was called Show Me. And Show Me is basically a SocialFi project that works with token-gated and NFT-gated communities. And it had good growth. You know, we came to a level where we had around 150, 200,000 users. But then we reached a point where we said, oh, there are not so many people that are really interested in doing Web3 social-fi, right? Because the big ones like Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, they were still too big and there were just not enough people. So we came to a point where we said, maybe we can find a place or create a place where people, like-minded people, Web3 native people come together, learn about new projects, and also help projects on the other side with their community growth. So yeah, now this is the point I mentioned about 3 minutes ago. Okay, no worries. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so a little bit more about Quest now. So we also saw a couple of other problems that we faced in the past. One of them, of course, being the strong growth need. We all know Web3 is a scene that's growing at a very, very fast pace. So we want to hold up with that and grow in a fast pace. Secondly, of course, that's also one major issue for companies here, traditional companies in Austria that want to look into the Web3 world, but they just can't because they don't have the know-how and the knowledge. And then 2 more points I want to mention, of course, last two. The first one, of course, lack of growth tools, something I'm going to show you in just a second. And the very last one is the lack of precision, something I think maybe even the EU struggled with earlier this week. Okay, telling you more about Quest 3 now. So once you head on the page quest3.xyz, you're asked to connect with your wallet address, right? Once you've done so, you come here to the Questor Camp, a place where you can add your username, your wallet address, your official Twitter and Discord accounts perhaps. And then on the right side, you can also see what kind of campaigns, events, quests have you participated in, right? And then at the bottom here, you can also see the communities that you have joined. And for example, some of our clients at the current moment are BNB, and then also StepN from the GameFi field, of course, KCC, also a very common known public chain. Then of course here OKX, Bybit, some major exchanges. And besides that, I mean, I'm gonna spend some more time later on talking about our clients. First of all though, I want to show you what the page looks like, right? So once you sign up and head to the page, you come to this landing page where you have a couple of events and banners up top right now until the 18th of December, I'm sorry, is something, a World Cup campaign related, and it's co-hosted by BNB Chain and Binance, as well as a couple other projects that are running on the BSC chain. If we scroll down, we come to the recommended quest section. And I've been mentioning quest all the time, but not really explaining what a quest really is. So I'm going to do that in just a second. So if we look at this quest created by OKX, we have a title up top, we have the community name and a time frame, and then at the bottom right below, we have a couple of quests. And in this case, what OKX chose to do was something related to Twitter and also to Discord. And due to the reason, like you've just seen before, that I can also add my Twitter and my Discord account and link it with my wallet address through our page, I can also automatically verify these processes on chain within a couple seconds and make sure users are actually participating and engaging. And then lastly, in order to create some thresholds and avoid a high number of airdrop hunters, people just rushing in, taking your money, clicking on some buttons, and that's it. They also put a threshold where people would have to hold a certain NFT, in this case, OKX Football World Cup NFT. If we scroll down, of course, there you'll also have a description about the campaign. So for example, if you want to tell users more about what you want to promote, you can put some text, you can put some links, some URLs, pictures, anything that you basically want. You might have already seen it on the right side, of course, the reward section. I'm going to talk about that more in just a second. First of all, just showing you one more our clients. So just to give you a rough estimate, we're currently looking at 10,000 projects from very, very different fields. So we have a quite wide variety of clients at this point, coming from not only DeFi, GameFi, and DAO fields, but also from NFTs, a lot of wallet providers out there, and like you've seen, also some official public chains as our partner. Besides that, of course, we're also working with major companies like Consensus, doing campaigns about, for example, Infura or also MetaMask, but that's also happening in the background. Okay, so for those of you who want to know what Quest is really about, we can just show you that, and it's very easy and simple. It only takes 3 minutes, and I'm gonna prove that to you in just a second. So first of all, the whole process is kind of similar to signing up on the user end, on the C end. So what you do is you come here, you sign up with your wallet, and you can get started right away. It's a fully permissionless process. Welcome, welcome. Fully permissionless process, and what you have to do is you sign up with your wallet and you can get started right away. You enter your username, you enter your community name, add a picture, add a description, and then you're ready to go. The first step to creating a quest is adding a title and adding a description, just like we can see it here on the right side. Then, secondly, we come to the template section, and this is the most important step now. Let's say, give us an example. For example, let's say we want to do something, a small beta launch campaign. So we're looking at, let's say, something on Twitter, on Discord to increase our followership there. And then in addition to that, let's say we have some info material provided on YouTube through a video or also on our website. We ask users to go on YouTube. We ask them to check out the website. We can also automatically verify these processes through on-chain verification. And once they've done so, they come to a point where we can also create something like a unique Q&A or also something like a survey, basically meaning that we can also get feedback from the users and to see, okay, what kind of needs, what kind of necessities does the market have? What would users want to improve with our project, and how can they help us to, further build on our project when the launch is ready, right? Okay, the third step then is the eligibility section. And here you can decide. Should I stop or? Okay, sure, no worries. Yeah, the third step, of course, the eligibility section. So here you could decide between either all users, but you could also do something internally, meaning that you can also put some specific addresses or some specific NFTs as a threshold. In this case, for example, you can ask users to hold a certain NFTs in order to be eligible to participate in one of your quests. Then, the fourth and last step is the reward section. So here you have two ways of dealing with it. The first would be the first come, first serve principle, quite self-explanatory, right? Nothing too much to say here. The second one is a lucky draw. Basically, let's say you do a quest and you have rewards in tokens or rewards in NFTs, in whitelists, etc. Then you do a time frame, and after this time frame ends, you come to a point where the page automatically picks a certain number of users, of participants, and then luckily or automatically distributes these rewards to them automatically for you. So once the setup is done, there is nothing you have to worry about. And then, of course, the second part of the reward section, like I said, you can reward with NFTs. You can also reward with tokens. In this case, of course, we have the most common stablecoins available, as well as, depending on the chain you choose, some native tokens that can also be added by us. And then at the bottom, of course, the same thing works with whitelists. Doesn't have to be something related to NFTs, but could also be for some certain launch campaign. Now, to show you that it's not all just a hoax and I'm telling you about something I really don't know anything about, I'm just going to show you some of the numbers. So to give you some background, we had the idea of launching Quest in March, April this year. We got a team together, got our developer team, and created some new ideas, and basically had our launch campaign around 4 months ago. And since then, we've reached a point where we have officially 10,000 communities, as well as 3 million NFTs minted, 500,000 users in total, and a daily active user number reaching between 20,000 and 45,000. Just to give you some more input for the future months now, currently we're still focusing on the World Cup campaign that's running for a couple more days, and then additionally, of course, there are going to be more chains more templates, more campaigns, etc., etc. And of course, next year in around March, April, there's also going to be a Quest iOS mobile app available for all our users. Okay, and before I end my talk today, there are one or two things I still want to mention. So the first one being, of course, that I don't want to be the guy that says or tells you today is the right day to start and to build your project and start growing. But in this case, I still have to, because there's a little Christmas present that we have for you guys. Everything I've just shown you, from campaigns, events, templates, everything is available at transaction fee only. And on BSC, this means with the help of our incentive program, you can also do that without any costs at all. And this will be until the 18th of December. That being said, thanks so much, guys, for listening, for your attention. And I'll be here for some questions if you need me. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Then next up we'll have Alexei from Interlay. He has a one-stop shop for Bitcoin and DeFi that he'll present to us. We'll just have one moment to bring your presentation up. You have the microphone already, right? Okay. Gib her irgendwas. Ja. Ich glaube, das soll angehen.
Nur mit dem.
Sorry.
All right, so hi, my name is Alexei. I'm the co-founder of Interlay. I come from Vienna. I studied at TU Vienna and got into Bitcoin around 2015 and actually started as a researcher, so I was trying to figure out like how does Bitcoin break, why does it work, how to build stuff on top of BTC without like creating forks, without having to change Bitcoin itself. And then during my PhD, together with my co-founder, we came up with an idea of how to actually move Bitcoin to other blockchains to unlock the potential that you have on smart contract chains and bring that to BTC. And today I'm going to talk about Interlay, which is the venture, the company that we started 3 years ago. And what we do is essentially we bring DeFi functionality to Bitcoin, or actually we bring Bitcoin to DeFi. So it's a bit of a different angle than the talk before. And the problem that we solve is that Bitcoin has 300 million users today. It's growing faster than the internet. And well, 10 years ago, it started as cash everywhere, anytime. Today, we have so much more, right? As the previous presentation talked about NFTs, we have DeFi, we have identity systems, we have a whole ecosystem that grows every single day. But there is one problem. While Bitcoin is leading mass adoption, right? It has penetrated every single market from department stores, internet giants, to even governments like El Salvador. The only thing it can do with Bitcoin, without going to centralized exchange, is payments. That's about it. Whereas everything else, all the new cool stuff, NFTs, DeFi, DAOs, identity, e-voting, everything you can think of that can be decentralized and made more secure, happens on other blockchains. Ethereum, Cosmos, Polkadot, and so on. And it is a controversy, right, that Bitcoin, the thing that started it all, is so far behind everything else, but adoption, right? In terms of adoption, Bitcoin is the #1 king. It has 300 million users, 15.5 million active wallets per month, which is 10 or 100, even 100 times more than Ethereum. Now, the problem is that Bitcoin only exists on the Bitcoin blockchain, right? So if you want to use something, like if you want to get Bitcoin to work on Ethereum, you need to wrap it. So you need to take Bitcoin and move it to the other system. And that process is actually very, very complicated. In fact, it's as hard as some of the most difficult computer science problems to date. And this is why today we still have everything that happens in terms of innovation on Ethereum, Polkadot, Cosmos, and so on, and Bitcoin just has payments, right? And what we would obviously like to have is we would like to merge these two things, right? We'd like to get the 300 millions of users of Bitcoin and we're actually heading towards $1 billion over the next 5 years, and to give them access to these new features. So the question is, what do we need? We need an app that allows you with one click to deploy BTC into DeFi protocols, but without having to trust FTX, right? Because we saw FTX, Celsius, 3 Hours Capital, these are systems that have nothing to do with crypto. They're centralized providers, traditional finance plays that just play under the DeFi name, but actually can lose your funds. Now, so how this works under the hood, and I'll cover a lot of this in a second, is that what you start with is a trustless bridge, right? This looks much more technical than the previous talks, and the core of this is that what you need to do is you need to bring Bitcoin to other blockchains. There is no way to create complex products, DeFi solutions on Bitcoin itself. That unfortunately does not work today. So what you start with is a trustless bridge where you can move BTC over. And on top of that, we built a decentralized exchange and lending protocol and a system that allows you to then take that BTC and move it to other blockchains. So you don't want to be stuck in one place. You want to access Ethereum, Cosmos, Avalanche. You should actually not even care which blockchain you're on as a user. And this is why on top of all of this infrastructure stack, you build a one-click interface with a set of APIs which allows any developer or user to, within one or a few clicks, deploy BTC and then, of course, later other assets into any DeFi protocol you want. Now, this all sounds great, and to be fair, you have a lot of DeFi solutions already which work quite well. Now, the biggest problem is actually getting Bitcoin into them. And that's the biggest challenge that so far actually no one has solved, although actually a few have tried. And the problem is that, as mentioned before, wrapping or bridging Bitcoin is very difficult. Most centralized solutions work as follows, right? You, the user, you have BTC, and you go and you deposit Bitcoin into some account. Now, this works just like a centralized exchange. You give Bitcoin to a so-called custodian, and the job of the custodian is to keep your Bitcoin safe. And then, in return, you get something called a wrapped Bitcoin asset. It's an ERC20 token or whatever token you have on a different blockchain that represents this Bitcoin asset. Now, once you have this asset, you can use it in DeFi. And that part is very nice. You can use it on Uniswap, you can use it on Curve, you can use it potentially even in Quest 3 to pay for things. But the biggest problem is that if you want to go back, you have to rely on the centralized custodian that they will actually return BTC to you. And as we all know, centralized players, especially in the crypto space where they're not regulated, tend to do things that, well, are a bit shady. And essentially, if this custodian decides, well, I'm going to lose your Bitcoin and disappear with it, there is really not much you can do except try to sue them. But without a proper legal system in the back, this doesn't work too well, as we actually have seen over the last couple of weeks. So the problem is, or that's actually even worse about the whole space, that a lot of these solutions try to hide this centralization aspect behind fancy terms. They will mention like federated multisigs, MPC, like multi-party computation, threshold signatures, trusted hardware, zero-knowledge proofs. But at the core, everything is centralized. And this is why what we're proposing is to move away from this whole wrapped aspect. The name wrapped is generally not very useful because, as some of you may know who are more familiar with Ethereum, wrapped Ethereum is also a way to use Ethereum in smart contracts. But wrapping in itself is not the problem. The problem is bridging, trusting a centralized provider. So the system that we have designed is called vaulted Bitcoin. So it moves into a completely different direction, and it actually uses DeFi primitives to make it work. So it uses a decentralized network of participants. It uses over-collateralization to make sure that everybody is economically incentivized to behave honestly, and it uses cryptographic proofs to actually verify that things happen correctly. So for those of you, again, who are familiar with DeFi, it's a mix of MakerDAO, Bitcoin, and cross-chain cryptography. Now, all of these are fancy buzzwords, so obviously you should verify whether it works in practice. So the IBTC or inter-BTC vaulted system works as follows. You have a decentralized network of vaults. These are operators like you, me. Anyone in this room can spin up a node and become an operator. It's just like spinning up any Bitcoin-like client, Bitcoin node, whatever. What you do when you register is you deposit collateral into the system. This is the single most important aspect of this. Because we don't know who you are, and nobody in the internet actually can verify your identity, there is no way to legally prosecute you if you disappear with a Bitcoin, and we actually don't want to rely on legacy systems. the system requires you to provide capital up front. This capital is an insurance. In case you misbehave, you will lose this collateral. So this is very similar to staking and proof-of-stake systems. Now, if I, as a user, want to now mint Bitcoin onto another blockchain, what I do is I send BTC to one of these vaults. And what happens in the background is the collateral insurance of these vaults is locked. So that means that when I receive the wrapped BTC asset that I can use in different applications, I know that this collateral in a basket of different assets, which can be USDC, it can be layer 1 tokens, it can be liquid staking, any asset, even NFTs in the future, I know that this basket of assets is locked up on the smart contract. And why is this important? Right, when I want to go back to Bitcoin at some point, and I should, if I'm not using it in DeFi or in some application, I should go back to Bitcoin because that's the most safe place to actually store it in a hardware wallet. When I want to do this, in the good case, I request to receive my Bitcoin back. I return this wrapped Bitcoin asset or vaulted Bitcoin asset to the smart contract, and the smart contract instructs one or more vaults to send BTC to me on the Bitcoin blockchain. When they've done that, I'm happy, they're happy, I have my Bitcoin, they have their collateral unlocked, everything works. But we're here to actually prevent the bad case, right? You always care about your centralization too late. You only care about it when something goes wrong. So what happens if these vaults disappear with BTC, right? What if they just steal it, they go offline, and my Bitcoin is gone? What will happen is that the system will liquidate their collateral, and I will be reimbursed in the basket of different assets. So I will get USDC, USDT, or whatever was used as collateral at a premium rate. So you take the current market rate of Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin is worth $17,000, and I get $20,000 as an insurance payout automatically. That's how it works. So in summary, vaults are over-collateralized. They always deposit more collateral into the system than they can accept Bitcoin. And if they don't return it to me when I want to have it back, they will be liquidated and I will cash out the payout. Now, the biggest question is, how do I actually verify that a Bitcoin transaction happened, right? You don't want to trust any centralized provider to tell our system that, the payment has been made. And what we use is something called a light client. So for those of you who are not familiar, in Bitcoin, in general blockchains, there's two types of nodes, right? You have full nodes which download the entire transaction log. These are typically hundreds of gigabytes of data. And then, because obviously you can't download a few hundred gigabytes of data onto your mobile phone, most blockchains have something called light clients. This is the stuff that you can run in your mobile wallet. These things only download a few hundred megabytes of data. This can run on your mobile client, it can run on IoT devices. And they use some cryptographic structures and proofs to verify that specific transactions that only you care about have actually occurred. So when you have a Bitcoin wallet and I want to prove to you that I sent you Bitcoin, my Bitcoin wallet will send a proof to your Bitcoin wallet about this specific transaction, but you don't care about the thousands of other transactions that are happening in parallel. Now, in summary, that's a very efficient way to verify Bitcoin transactions. It works in Bitcoin, and most other blockchains have this. Now, what we've done is we've taken this thing that typically runs on mobile phones and we've put it on a blockchain directly. So as part of the smart contracts that we have implemented, you have something that can cryptographically verify that specific Bitcoin transactions have happened. So you can't lie to the system. If you've not made the Bitcoin payment, there's no way for you to trick it. You have to submit a cryptographic proof and verify that, okay, I as the vault operator have returned Bitcoin to the user. If I cannot do this within, let's say, 24 hours, my collateral is liquidated and the user is reimbursed. And this introduces this guilty until proven honest assumption that you generally have in DeFi systems. So now in terms of competition, we position ourselves mainly on the scala. If we look at trustlessness, we try to be fully decentralized and trustless, so you have no single point of failure. Nobody controls the network. If we as a company disappear tomorrow, no funds will be affected. The network runs by itself. It's governed by a decentralized network of participants, so you actually don't need us. The only thing we do is just build software that's open source and that our community reviews, and then our community decides whether to deploy it or not. And the goal here is, again, to make sure that it's not like you don't want Bitcoin on a specific chain. You want it everywhere, right? And the goal is really that you can move it to any blockchain, and that's why we're connecting to as many chains as possible through, again, other decentralized bridges, which is difficult in itself, but over the next 5 years, you'll see that most centralized bridges will be replaced with decentralized solutions. Now, if we look at competitors, I mean, again, for those of you who've been following the news recently, you saw that FTX collapsed. Now, apart from a lot of backlash across DeFi and prices going down and millions being lost, it also surprisingly had a backlash on some bridges that were bridging Bitcoin to other ecosystems and were claiming to be decentralized. So for example, RemBTC V1 is being sunset because that team was actually bought by Alameda Research a few years ago, and now they have no money to continue, and also their funds were on FTX. You have the Solana BTC version down there, which was a representation of Bitcoin on Solana, and surprise, surprise, the value of one Sol BTC dropped to $600 because, well, all the Bitcoin was controlled by FTX and they used it to, well, repay their loans. And then you have other things like HBTC, which is a Huobi Bitcoin representation that essentially was sunset because nobody was using it. So the only real solution you have in practice is this WBTC wrapped Bitcoin asset, which is controlled by BitGo. It's a centralized solution, but they have some proof of reserves and they're somewhat regulated. You need to go through KYC if you want to use this. So most retail users actually cannot access this asset. WBTC has 200,000 Bitcoin bridged over to Ethereum. That's around $3 billion right now. Now, the problem with this is that we as retail users actually cannot access that. If you want to mint WBTC, like let's say you have one Bitcoin and you want to put it into Uniswap, and you go to one of the WBTC providers, they'll force you to do KYC, AML, and so on, and most likely they won't even accept you because they're targeted towards funds. So Alameda's business model was to sell this bridging as a service to funds and take a cut on that. So what people did is they would go through RemBTC, which is a solution that claimed to be soon decentralized, but obviously was not. It was a multisig, and they would quickly bridge through RemBTC, have the risk of, oh, while they have RemBTC, it could be lost because it's centralized, but even not regulated, and then they would go over to WBTC. So now when this solution collapsed, you have millions of RemBTC locked in different pools, and people cannot get out, and everybody's losing money. So that's why you need decentralized solutions, right? So unfortunately, over the last few months, we've seen that these things don't work. A lot of people have lost a lot of money, and they probably won't come back for a long time. For us, it's kind of not too bad because all of our competitors have just broken apart. Now, how does this thing make money? And that's a very important question because if you recall, vaults are over-collateralized. So they put up a lot of money as insurance, and that makes it capital inefficient. It's not cheap. Decentralization always has a price, but the goal is obviously, well, how can we make it somewhat competitive? So obviously, there are fees which will be higher than with centralized solutions for bridging. So if you move your BTC over, a fee will be charged. If you go out, a fee will be charged. Then, because we have a lending and a trading protocol built directly into the system, which allows you as a user with one click to just trade Bitcoin against something or, let's say, borrow dollars against your BTC, the fees you pay there are also routed back to the operators. And because we are a system that connects to other blockchains and exports Bitcoin to, let's say, other DeFi applications across different blockchains, each time you move your Bitcoin from our system to another chain, there's also a small fee charged. And essentially, the more volume the system generates, the more BTC is moved around, the more revenue the DAO makes, and the DAO in turn pays the operators for their service. So the goal here is also to have a model that's sustainable and actually generates revenue instead of having only tokens and some Ponzi scheme like Luna. Now, in terms of numbers, I mean, the system is rather young. So the very first version launched last March. And on the smaller network, which has caps in terms of how much Bitcoin can be moved through it, the bigger network launched in August amidst of a lot of hacks and crashes of our partners. But we still survived, so far we've bridged 360 BTC back and forth through the system. It's not great, it's not terrible, it's slowly growing, but essentially it's growing organically. So there is no huge kind of airdrops, there is no essentially huge incentives to bridge. People who actually use the system, they do it because they want to do something with their Bitcoin. We also have, some interesting aspect is that a lot of this BTC is actually moved across different blockchains. So while we've only bridged $5.7 million at current prices of BTC, we have $20 million recorded volume that goes around our different partner blockchains. So that's basically Interlay numbers. And very briefly, like how does this actually become relevant to the public? Right now, we're actually deployed as a system within another ecosystem. We're part of Polkadot, which is a blockchain of different blockchains where it's easy to connect to different partner blockchains and you can build your standalone system. So it's actually not a smart contract, but it's a full-fledged and more robust system. The most important thing is we don't have to rewrite a lot of the cryptographic things that Bitcoin does. We just take what Bitcoin already has. And for those of you who are from computer science, you know that writing your own cryptographic tools is very dangerous. So we don't do that. We use Bitcoin Core, which means that if that breaks, this means also that Bitcoin broke, which is a general assumption that we all hope never occurs. So right now, like our target market is around $500 million. It's a rather small ecosystem, obviously, compared to Ethereum. And what we're doing right now is we're extending to other networks. Now, we do this by using decentralized bridge solutions. So again, we choose security over speed. There's a lot of centralized bridges, and you probably heard about billions being lost because centralized bridges were hacked. While our users can access those, we don't recommend it. So the next step over the next year is essentially to use the newly arriving decentralized solutions to bridge to Ethereum, Solana, and so on. But now that's essentially when you're able to reach a much bigger ecosystem. But DeFi is still a bubble. Like, how many of you have actually ever used any form of DeFi application? Can I get a sort of hands? Okay, that's a very high percentage for our audience. Normally, it's much, much less. Most people don't use DeFi because it's hard to use, it's hard to access. You need to know which chain you're on. Each interface looks differently. You need to use MetaMask, which is the best UX we've got so far, and it's honestly not great. But if you go to another blockchain, you have a different wallet, and you need to figure out how to use that. So our goal is, as a next step, really to take this product and onboard users who just have BTC, who buy it as an alternative asset, hedging against fiat risk, but they don't really want to spend a lot of time and actively trading. Because if we're honest, DeFi users today, if you look at the outside of the crypto bubble, these people will be classified as advanced traders. But the majority of people we actually have is retail. They don't know how to trade. They don't want to spend hours figuring out different prices. It needs to be much simpler. So something we've designed is a way for you to deploy your Bitcoin into DeFi without it actually leaving your wallet. So it's a very low-level cryptographic solution, and it sounds like magic, but what this thing allows you to do is it allows you to lock up your Bitcoin for, let's say, 6 months, and you earn yield on it. And what the smart contract does, it acts as the decentralized wealth fund where you can actually verify what it does, exactly which rules it adheres to it, make sure that liquidations are successful, and it allows you as a user to conveniently press one button, your Bitcoin is locked up. The system knows, and other DeFi applications know, that you cannot sell it for 6 months, which is the kind of risk that you take. You can't sell it. And then you earn interest on it. Now, if you want to read up on the technical details, there's a rather technical academic paper on this, and there was an article about it somewhere down there. But essentially, the goal is, in the first step, to make a very simple application where within one click you can deploy your Bitcoin into any DeFi application. You can insure your Bitcoin against price decay, or you can go leverage long if you really think that Bitcoin is going to increase in price. You can borrow USDC or USDT against your Bitcoin and then cash it out to your bank account through a partner. But then the final step is to make sure you can do all of these things without actually losing your Bitcoin, right? Because although the bridge that we've built today is very secure, you actually, if you go a few steps back, you still have this step where you send your BTC to somebody else. And the moment you do this, no matter how secure we build this, there's always risk involved, right? There's smart contract risk. What if the price of these assets decreases too quickly and their liquidation systems don't work? So there's always risk involved. And that's why the ultimate goal is to have a solution where you actually never spend your BTC and it stays in your wallet. And with this, thanks so much, and I'll be around for questions afterwards.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alexei. You'll also stay for questions later. Then we have our last speaker today, and it's Alejandro, and you are speaking freely, right?
I'm speaking for myself.
Yes.
Of course I do.
And he will talk to us about airdrop.
Yes, airdrop. Like what? Airdrop.
Okay, you have to stand here, then you can also... perfect, that's the best place.
Should I like just hold it in my hand? Hey,
You
hi.
can also put it on if you want to.
I have a big voice. I can just maybe. Huh?
But for the people in the live...
For the can you put it? Would
Yes.
that would be awesome.
Okay, let's try. I hope it's not too loud already. Okay.
Okay, is it okay from the sound? Hi everybody. Hi everybody. First of all, I'm so happy to be back in Vienna. I was on the road the last 2 months from London, Paris, Dubai, and it's the moment I landed yesterday, it was just such a relief to be back in Vienna. Ihr seid ja solche Bazis hier, aber es ist einfach so schön, ohne Scheiß. Today we go live with 8Drop. Today it's the start of the beta testing phase, so it's the first time I pitch it. I talked to George, I don't need no presentation. I'm just gonna swing around and just free throw the whole 8Drop thing. I wish you could give me a little bit of feedback afterward. That would be amazing because I'm on fundraising events until 23rd of December. So we're about to collect some money, and I have to improve the pitch all the time. So just give me some feedback afterwards, and yeah, let's go. So 8Drop is the first non-profit organization on chain, and I know this whole NPO stuff gets thrown a lot around in Web3, but to be fair, we are the first gemeinnützige Organisation that is allowed to give Spendenzertifikat, donation certificate. So we are in the real world, not just as a startup on chain. We have all the legal stuff going. We have all the, there are big hurdles if you want to do crypto together with NPOs. So we talked a lot with Amnesty International, SOS Children's Hospital and stuff like that to get the whole legal stuff going. Our team is very, very sophisticated in everything towards NPO and NGO. We still have to improve a lot in Web3. Today we go live the first day, but the stuff don't work yet. It's just, everybody of you, most of you are entrepreneurs. I know you guys from the Wirtschaftskammer Österreich and from the DAA. So yeah, it is what it is. People get sick, so we only can take fiat at the moment and no crypto yet. What we do at 8Drop, what is the main core? I don't want to share too many technical details. Both pitches were quite technical for us. The main thing we do is the restructuring of the narrative. Alex, right? Alex, was it? Alexei? Alexei. So close, Alejandro, Alexei, so Alex, I don't give a fuck, So what he also said is the mass adoption thing, and we have two big problems that most projects don't really tackle. Because one thing is money and the technical side of the blockchain, but for my vision and for the vision of my partners is the human resources aspect on the blockchain, that it's still the main part, the intrinsic value of individuals to harness it, to have win-win situations, not only on Discord, on a totally different level of connectivity. This is what we will bridge, or bridge is now in Web3 the wrong word, or merge or bring together from the Web3 perspective and the NGOs. Why do we do it? Like Web3, I don't know if you agree, but for me, Web3, especially the recent NFT landscape, lacks any kind of purpose. For me, I just came from London NFT and it was mediocre. Yes, because I cannot see the next hipster guy with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I don't give a fuck, because there's nothing to gain from gaining money out of money. There is no economic value for the people. Yeah, you have to realize that if you make money that makes money is bullshit. You need to do something that has a benefit for as much people, not only like-minded people, but white label solutions for whoever wants to use it to generate wealth for as much people as possible. So this is why we have BTC. Yes, not only BTC, the whole blockchain. Yeah? If we think to the crisis 2008, why do we have all of this? To have private equity, to possess our own stuff, our own Twitter, our own LinkedIn, yes, to have all this stuff. We all talked about this a million times. So what is for me or for us the next use case is NGO and the social structure and how we can bring together the technology together with the incentive of helping as much other people around the world as possible. So 8Drop has 3 or 4 steps. At the moment we have the MVP. It should be ready today, which is not. It's going to be ready on Monday, I hope. The MVP is very, very simple because we're all in the company. This is my third company now. We're all very experienced in startups and very experienced in the NGO side. So we create a very small MVP that it's nothing else than just like a bridge. You give us crypto, we give fiat to an NGO because we can take care of the whole pain from NGOs. NGOs, if you have an idea how Amnesty works or SOS Children's Hospital, they are extremely big. They are in hundreds of countries. They are like governments. They are very unflexible. They have a lot of pain. So it's totally different to talk to Mercedes-Benz or to especially Web3 brands and to talk to a large NGO. So we take the whole pain. And we have the possibility that you can donate to us and we can take the responsibility of the donation process to somebody else because you get a donation receipt from us. So that's the MVP. It's nothing special. It's not very technical. It's just to make it easy and explanatory because the people we interact with have no clue, and I mean zero clue about anything surrounding the blockchain. Don't text me. I see you on Telegram, huh? You don't have to hide, boy. So yeah, so we have the MVP, which is of course not spectacular, but we have to start something. But then we're going to build over time stuff on it. So what comes after the, let's say, Payback or Western Union element? Yes. Next stuff, we're going to have Twitter and Tinder. What does that mean? With the Twitter aspect, we match Web3 projects. Everyone in crypto can have his own match as an NGO, not only a Web3 project like this whole, you know, on the Discords, what they always say, we're going to donate 10% from our income or revenue to any NGO. This is not working because NGOs don't take crypto. Yeah, so if you cash out, you have to pay taxes and blah, 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 blah. So we take the pain, we communicate, we onboard the NPOs, we match them together and start with the whole narration of having intrinsic value from NFT communities, putting their effort towards something that is actually intrinsic beneficially for them, because if you do something for other people, you feel good. I feel good a lot of times because I do a lot of good stuff for other people. Of course, I'm not as rich as I could be maybe, but yeah, you know, I'm happy, I guess. So the thing is that you make the Tinder stuff. And then we have the Twitter stuff. Yeah, it's of course a metaphor, but the Twitter stuff is the thing, how we change, how we come, and I will say this in the end again, things change through narrations. The narrative is what catches the people and then brings them on. Not technology, that doesn't work shit. Nobody cares about anything. It's make it easy and have a feeling and an emotion and something to share and a story to tell and something to prove, life experiences. Not entertainment, not Netflix and chill. That's not what I'm talking about. So we have the Twitter aspect. We work with SOS Children's Hospital and Amnesty, so their own marketing, which is a huge marketing company inside of the NGOs and MPOs. We're going to streamline the narration, so everything that gets donated, we're going to have the possibility to have a lot of channels. We have partners with Coreline and with XXX in Berlin and in Frankfurt, so we are very, very well known in the German scene. I'm the host of the biggest LinkedIn space in German language every Donnerstag, Thursday tomorrow from 5 till 6. So we try to implement a lot of networking aspects, especially in Germany, and we're going to stay in Europe. So what we do is when we match somebody and when somebody donates or when somebody contributes, it's not just about monetary donation. It's show some love, contribute, do something that you think is going to make you feel good and is beneficial for others. So then on top of this, because in the end, if you just give money to another NGO, when we stop here, we wouldn't solve shit. That wouldn't help nobody, because to be real, you don't want to have the Patenschaft. What's Patenschaft? You don't want to pay money to a Puerto Rican or Guatemalan child so he can go to school. That doesn't solve it. It solves for him a problem, but it doesn't go to the roots. For the roots, we need to change the perception of how donations work, and we need to change the way the narrative about it is told. So what we're going to do after the first two things, we're going to work a lot on due diligence. 8drop takes full responsibility for choosing the Web3 partners, takes full responsibility for scanning and choosing the NGOs. And it's not about NGOs. You can get money from 8drop if you're an individual and we do our due diligence, what a word, and then you are in a country where there's maybe a lot of corruption, banked, unbanked. This is the whole crypto stuff, which we implement on the new use case that's going to be the major use case next year. It's social structures, the benefits for others, because we need to show the world for mass adoption. We all do, that crypto is needed for the reality, because here is where we live. So this is very important. Okay, this we're going to do till end of Q1 2023. And then what we're going to do after, did I step on some? No. So what we're going to do after that is 2 more things, and then it's already done for end of Q1, Q2, 2024. This is the roadmap. At the moment is what's going to go on top is we already communicate with partners. I don't want to do any name dropping. Let's say partners like BMW or Rewe or Aldi, like big industrial partners, that if you, because, how do I say it? Because if you want to really do something innovative, if you want to do some change, yeah? If you donate something, I'd love to say it in German, Gemeinnützigkeit, yeah? So if you donate your time and your money and your effort and your knowledge to help somebody else, it shouldn't be for free. But when you are an MPO, you cannot make any monetary gains in this. It's illegal. So what you can do is, when you donate to 8drop, you get a soulbound token on your wallet, yeah? And our partners can then, without us saying anything about it, our partners that work together with us are free to airdrop or to donate anything or to deliver anything to the token holder, because we are then out of the responsibility. It's a bit tricky. We are working with, I don't know, many of you maybe know Oliver Schernberg, one of the most famous crypto lawyers in Germany. We work with the European Crypto Association, European Crypto Lawyer Association, or whatever they call. So we are very good in the legal, and we know that we are stepping on new ground. But if we do not push the boundaries, you know, it's growth pain, Wachstumsschmerzen. We want to step outside of the shades and see what is possible. And then after we do the next steps with our partners, which is going very well at the moment, we will implement the greater 8drop ecosystem, probably at the moment on Trust Chain, because I'm a big fan of EOS, even though they fucked up the ICO a few years ago. They need us to have a solid use case, and we want to build, and we will build, a social chain 2024 to have this all NGOs on one side and make it then decentralized, bring then all the blockchain stuff. So to make it an end, it was quite quick, 30 minutes so far. So to make it really quick, what you should understand on the long term is that what we bring is something that is needed for blockchain and NGOs and MPOs. NGOs, nobody donates shit. It's really like this. How do you say, the age of the average donor is 60 plus. They lack necessity. They lack use cases. And on the other hand, we have the same for Web3. We need more mass adoption. People need to understand why it's important to use the blockchain, why the tool is necessary. We are going to merge these 2 worlds and make a win-win for everyone. This is what we're going to do at 8drop. And for now, if you would like to, we are very funded with our partners starting February, March next year. I know I'm CEO from 8drop, so we're going to be fine monetary-wise, even for an NGO, beginning early next year. But until then, the whole team is working for free. Our whole partners, everybody that cooperates with us, cannot expect any money because we don't want to have friction. Every dollar must be as much of a dollar and reach its end. So what I'm doing now until end of the year is fundraising. You can donate now to 8drop, of course, not crypto except to 8drop.eth, but because the whole thing is not working yet, but it will be working on Monday, I hope. And then you see, if you go to a homepage, you can become an early supporter. You get a special token that's going to be rewarded over time with benefits. I cannot say anything more in detail over this, but we have our system. We know what we're doing. We're good on the NGO side. Our founder, just to have maybe one feedback, our founder is old startup. He onboarded over 2,500 NGOs to his NGO app. So we know what we're doing on this side very well. Then we are working with Zaisan, EOS Chain. We have Paul Pöltner from the Digital Asset Association, which is my partner, which I'm doing the hackathon for Austria next year in 9 different countries. So we have strong partnerships already. And if you think that we are just in beta, it's amazing how well it's going. And the team is sick. It's my 3rd startup. I had to give up 2 already. I have 3 now, so it was 5 in total. So I never had a team like this. They're all individuals that are very committed and very, very aware of what they're doing. So if you want to help me get them a little bit more of relief, you know how hard it is to make a startup, especially if you don't have a solid perspective for having any monetary gains. The people need a win from time to time. So if you want to support us, support Bitcoin, support the chain, bring the new use cases on-chain for next year, then go to our homepage, 8drop.io, donate some money, get some benefits from it, or don't. I don't give a fuck, but help us, help yourself and others. Thanks a lot. Cheers. All right. Oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Okay, thank you for this interesting presentation. I think all of the 3 speakers will stay here for some more questions. There's one last thing from our side. So next week on the 14th, we'll have our first Block and Start competition. The details will be online soon and will be online only, so you'll get the link and you can join us for our competition. We'll also announce the participants of our final round very soon, and that will be on the 14th, so next week. And on the 21st, make sure to get your ugly Christmas sweaters out, because we'll have our Block&Wine Christmas party with some Glühwein, and there will be a winner who has the ugliest Christmas sweater in the world, or at least at our party. So make sure you be there. That will be, of course, again in person. So I guess that's it. Let's have some wine and discuss. I think there's 3 very interesting topics today, and I'm sure people will have a lot of questions. Thank you. See you next time.